Our next topic is motor units. Take a look at these motor neurons. These are the neurons that are going to stimulate the muscle fibers to contract. Notice we have 3 neurons here, and they're color-coded. When they get down to the muscle, they branch, and those branches go out to different muscle fibers. So you have multiple neurons to a single muscle. And each neuron branches to multiple fibers. A motor unit is one neuron and the fibers it branches to. And whenever that neuron gives a signal, all of the fibers in the motor unit contract. So you can think of it as teams. Think of your muscle as being divided up into teams of fibers. And all the members of a team contract together. So if the purple neuron has a signal in it, all of the purple fibers down here will contract. If the red neuron has a signal, then all of the red fibers contract. There's several important features of the motor unit. One is the distribution of team members. If you look back up here at the picture, notice they're not together, they're spread out. Look at the blue one, for example. The blue fibers are all spread out from each other. They're not lumped together. Think of that as 2 people trying to move a couch. If 2 people are trying to move a couch and they both get on the same side of the couch, they're not going to move it very well. That's not a good distribution of force. If they spread out from each other and get on opposite sides of the couch, they distribute the force and they're going to work. They're going to be able to move the couch. So the distribution of the fibers in a motor unit is that the fibers of a unit are spread out from each other. That way, when those fibers contract, you get an even distribution of the force. Another important feature of motor units is the size of the motor unit. All motor units have 1 neuron, but the number of fibers can vary. So a small motor unit is like a basketball team. Think of the neuron like the coach and the fibers like the players. So a small motor unit has only a few fibers per neuron. A large motor unit is like a football team. You have many fibers per neuron. And in a human body and the muscles, could be several hundred fibers per neuron. So there's advantages to each. Think about a small motor unit. Think about a basketball team. If one neuron has only a few fibers to control, you can get very precise movements. This is what gives you your fine motor skills. So in the muscles that control your hands and your fingers and your eyes, you have very small motor units because you have very precise fine motor control. Okay, now think about a large motor unit. One neuron gives a signal and hundreds of fibers contract. This gives you a lot of power. You get a huge response just from one signal. This is found in your legs because your legs have to carry your body around and they need a lot of power in order to do that. Another feature that we get from motor units is the degree of force, or we get control of the force. You don't necessarily have to use all your motor units. Your brain can decide how many it wants to use. Suppose that you are babysitting a baby and you're at the park, it's a nice day, but a mosquito lands on the baby's nose. You would use your arm to gently shoo the mosquito away. What if you're at the park and a hungry bear comes charging at you? This time, instead of gently shooing the bear away, you're going to use your arm to punch the bear as hard as you can. It's the same movement, but one time you can do it gently, one time you can do it with all your might. So we have here the all hands on deck, right? This is when you want all your might. You want lots of force. This would be punching that hungry bear. In this case, you would use all of your motor units. So say the muscle, like the one in our picture up top, was split into 3 motor units. You would send a signal through each of those neurons and have all 3 motor units contract. Okay, over here we have a skeleton crew, right? Which means you're just doing the minimal force. This is when you're shooing the mosquito from the baby. You want to be very gentle and careful. So here you're only going to use 1 motor unit. And you can do anything in between. Suppose you have a muscle with 10 motor units and you need a medium amount of force, maybe you'll use 5 of them. So you can always control how much force you use by how many motor units you stimulate. And the final thing about motor units is that they take turns. So individual fibers get tired. And that is called fatigue, when they get tired. And they need to rest. But the muscle as a whole can stay contracted for a long time. This is because the motor units within the muscle take turns. Suppose you're sitting in class with your lab partners, and I say that you'll get a bonus point if you can hold your book up in the air the whole class period. Well, your arm is going to get tired after a few minutes, but you don't want to set the book down because then you lose. So you ask your lab partner to take a turn holding it. And when that person's arms gets tired, they ask the other lab partner to take a turn. If you go through and you each take a turn holding the book up, you'd be able to keep the book in the air for the whole class period. That's how your muscles are. This is especially true in your back. That's where your posture muscles are. They have to work all day long. And the way they keep you upright all day long is the motor units within those muscles take turns. So there is everything you need to know about motor units.